Hi, good night everyone. Apologies to those who were there before I accidentally ended the video. But today my topic for Crystal's Corner is going to be about saving money. I think that's the area where I think I have a handle on that, and I will hopefully be able to share with you guys. For those who aren't very good at doing it, I'm hopeful that some of the things that I give you will help send you into the right direction. So just to give you some background, from the time I was young and in secondary school, I would have been working at jobs like I worked at the CXC, I would have worked at Standard Distribution, I would have worked in a bakery. So these aren't fancy jobs as you could imagine, and yet it was through these jobs that I was able to save money to help put myself through BCC and UE, and to also help to pay bills in the house and still have something left over for other stuff. I was able to use some of the money that I saved to start a credit union account, and this is all before I left university. So hopefully some of the things that I would have learned over trial and error, they will be able to help you. And you can also, through the comments, add, thanks Shane, you can also add the things through the comments that you would have done that would have helped you to be able to save money better, to be able to achieve the goals that you would have had set out for yourself. So one of the first things I've done from the time I was young is to document my spending. Especially when I first started working at a permanent job, I would write down everything, even the newspaper that I would buy on a weekend. I wrote it down. And when you start writing down your expenses, you start to literally see what it is that the crap that you spend money on. And it is sometimes appalling when you look in a month's time and you're thinking, well, where did the money go? When you look at what you spent the money on, you realize all of those little things add up. The things you think, oh, this is just a little chicken bar snack box, and it's just a new pair of shoes here, and it's only a little $100 or $50 or $10. But you'd be surprised how those things add up, and you don't remember them, because when you go and you buy those things, it doesn't stay in your memory. So the frequent spends, they add up, they take away from what you're really trying to achieve, and at the end of the day, the extra utility you get from those spends, they don't really add up when you're losing out on a major project that you're trying to save towards. So that's my absolute number one tip. When I was younger, before people own computers, they used to write it down in the book. Some people still like writing it down in the book, but I find Excel really helps in terms of quick calculations and sums and being able to sort things in a particular way. So Excel is pretty easy for majority of people to use. If you've never used it before, play around with it. It is very, very user friendly. So you can try that one out. The other thing that I did was to put my savings in a vehicle that was very difficult to access. So that vehicle for me was the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union. I don't have any shares in there other than the shares that they give you every single member. I think it's $120 in shares. Nothing to make me have to big them up. I'm just saying this is what I use. It helped me because they have a premier plan. It starts off at $3,000, but any money you put in the premier plan, you can't even get it from the ATM. You have to go inside the actual credit union. And their locations are not the most convenient locations either. So if I needed that money, I would have to suffer the inconvenience of going into town or Belmont Road to go and get it. So I could just quickly go and take it off. You would also have to know for yourself what you consider to be a difficult avenue to be able to go and take off money easily, and use that to be able to stop yourself from just taking out the money like if there's no tomorrow. The other thing that I would have done is, as soon as I'm paid, I would have taken the money and put it into the savings first. You'd be very surprised how quickly you adjust. No, close the window. Yeah. You'll be very surprised how quickly you adjust to a particular level of income. When you are being paid $2,500, let me just use that as an example. You've been making do with $2,500 for forever. Then all of a sudden you get, say, $1,000 extra. When you start to spend that extra $1,000 and it becomes the norm, you begin to feel as though you cannot go back down to $2,500, even though you've been living for years off of $2,500. It is just a matter of getting yourself, making sure you don't get yourself accustomed to this new level of spending. If you have debts, use it to put away for your debts. If you have savings, top up your savings. I'm not saying you gotta live like a Scrooge like me, because I did live really miserly, because I had a particular goal that was very near and dear to my heart, and that was my priority. Everybody doesn't have to live like that. But you get extra $1,000, take half and put it towards savings. Even if you lick out the other half on whatever else it is you think you need to lick it out on, do that. You will not die. The extra money was never there before. You didn't have to get it. You learn to adjust to that new level of living very quickly, much more quickly than you will ever realize. So the other thing that I would have done, I only recently got a credit card. I say recently, that's 5 years ago. I got a credit card for the first time. And what I did was to use it like how you would use a debit card. I never swiped unless I knew I had the money there. I already know that's not practical for everyone. I know there's some people who are literally living off of their credit cards. But the thing I would say about a credit card, especially depending on where you get it from, the interest rate on a credit card is horrible. Horrible. You'd be better off getting an unsecured loan from a bank rather than use a credit card as a means to make ends meet. So I would just advise to keep the credit card usage to a minimum unless you know you have the money there to put it back. I would not recommend it. So I have been using the credit card though as for my everyday spending and for the spending that we would have done on the house, because I know I could get the mortgage money and put it on the credit card and know that I will not ever go over the limit. When that cutoff period comes, I clear my credit card in full. I've never paid interest on my credit card, ever. And I get the miles, and I've been able to use the miles to go on trips since I've had that credit card. So it has come in very, very handy and convenient for me. So like I said, you have to be very disciplined, because I know there are people, you put a credit card in their hand and it is like it's free money. I know the mentality isn't there for some people, so you have to be honest with yourself too. Now you're shutting the window
Because
the noise done gone, so you can open them back up now. Lousy girls are trying to sing to she to go and shut the window so as not to interrupt my video, and she waits till after the noise. You're not a good assistant.
oh gosh.
You want firing. But yes, credit cards are useful tools, especially if they have a miles component. They can be very useful, but you have to be very careful how you use them, not to get yourself into unnecessary debt. So you have to bear that in mind. The other thing that I would have advised for persons, especially those with a lot of debt, debt is not always a bad thing. Debt can help you to advance a business, can help you to have a more convenient life. You buy a vehicle, you can use that vehicle to make sure you don't have to waste a lot of time in town catching the bus, and you use that time to go on, either for recreation or to go and do another job. Debt does not always have to be a bad thing, but what I will advise is being careful about the kind of debt that you get yourself into. One of the things that interest is always a factor. I would have sent a good set of people the amortization table schedule in my last the video in front. I would have also put a link to it inside of the comments. So if you need that link again, I can always put that in. You can use that table to be able to sit down and see how much money you're actually paying back in interest, so that you can see at the end of a particular period how much money you would have paid back to the institution in total, and be able to say, you know what, it will only, if I put down this amount extra, or if I at least try to get this much of a deposit down, I will not pay all of that extra money for no reason. And it might only take you, you'd be surprised sometimes it doesn't take you that long to save up the kind of money that you would need to minimize the amount of debt that you'd be paying back to these institutions. So all of these are tools that you can use to make sure that you keep your money in your pockets. You have them here, they're at your disposal. Take advantage of them to sit down and work out how much money you really gave away to people for free, and how much you can do it out. And a lot of the times it's just a matter of sacrificing for a little bit longer so that you can have what you want at the end of the day. What I know some people take advantage a lot of, the court's 3 months interest-free plan. You take out something, and if you could pay it back in 3 months, you get at cash price. I don't see anything much better than that, to be quite honest, because you get what you want and you get 3 months to pay off and you don't give them a cent in interest. I encourage people as much as possible to take advantage of those kind of things. If you realize that you don't quite have the money that the 3 monthly payments will work out, save what you need to save first to at least help make it doable. Always sit down and analyze how much is it that you can afford to pay out versus how long you're willing to wait for it. Because that's another factor. I have apparently a world of patience because I accustomed not having the hands, so it don't bother me that I don't have anything. But I am quite aware that everybody isn't like that. If you feel as though this is something you must have, at least see if you could have a little bit of patience to save the money sufficiently so as to not put yourself in trouble to get it. The other thing that I will recommend as well too, I've had friends who've had multiple debts, and some debts are worse than others, and it's almost personal as well too, because I have some friends who will have a debt with a high interest rate, and for me that would always be the debt that I want to pay off first. But then you might have one that it is the one with the highest interest rate but it's also the most money, and you have 2 other debts that you can knock off quickly, so that mentally you only have one person to pay back. And I can understand that mental fatigue where you got so much people you need to pay back money to, it can become daunting. So emotional aspect aside, if you can pay back the debt with the highest interest rate first, all go for it. If you can put down extra, you'd be surprised how many years sometimes that can shave off of the debt that you have. The same amortization schedule I would have sent out, you can play around with the amounts. So say for instance you wanted a $100,000 loan, and that works out to say $500 a month. If you know you can afford to pay $600 a month, try it out. You can look and see the number of years that might actually bring down, or at least months that would bring down on the amount of time that you'll be paying out that kind of money, one, and also the less interest in total that you will pay out at the end of the year. So you may, if you stick to their schedule, you would end up paying almost $100,000 in interest on a $100,000 loan. If you can put down extra, you'd be surprised sometimes you could shave off $20,000 off of that amount. Not even kidding. Play around with the numbers, see what it is that you get out, see how much it is you're saving, because you may not feel that $20,000 immediately, but think about all the things that you could do with $20,000, and you will see that it is really worth it in the end. And then the time value of that money, there's no limit to the fact of what you can free yourself up in the future, because you do not know what's going to happen in the future. You do not know what additional trouble you may get into. Somebody could lose a job. There's a lot of things insurance does not cover. Insurance does not cover you losing a job. Insurance does not cover, some person getting sick in some instances where you are the one who has to take care where you're the one who has to take care of them, because you may have insurance for yourself, but you have insurance for an aunt, and you're the only person who's there to really take care of her. So you have to make sure that you keep your money in a way where you're not choking yourself as well on the amount of debt. And for the ones that are already at that point, I strongly advise some belt tightening, because things in Barbados are not going to get much easier in the long run. And it's going to be a long haul trying to go at it with things getting worse. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to tell people to be cautious and to be prepared for what may possibly be a more difficult Barbados to live in. So just running over the tips from top to bottom again very quickly. Document your spending. Put your savings in a hard to reach place. My recommendation, the credit union, but you would know where it is as hard to reach. I am not a big fan of meeting terms, because as far as I'm concerned, you could put your money in somebody's hand, for however long it is that this U-turn is, and then when it comes to U-turn, somebody run away with the money. And that is just not a risk that I'm comfortable with. I know there are people who have successful meeting terms. Great for you. But there's no interest gain from it, and there's a heck of a lot of risk as far as I'm concerned. I don't particularly recommend a bank anymore because the interest rate is next to nothing, and the fees could rape you. So I try not to put my money on the bank. It's just used as a vehicle to pay my other my bills and stuff like that. But the reason I recommend a credit union is not a fantastic interest rate, but it's a pretty decent enough rate to cover whatever fees that they may charge me, and got a little piece of change left back to buy a bread and two. So it's better than shelling out a big bundle of fees with the bank. Tip number 3, deposit your savings as soon as you get paid so that you don't get tempted to go and take it up and spend it. Remember, you put it somewhere where you can't reach it just so anyhow, so you just learn to figure it out. Tip number 4, 5, I lost track already. Keep your credit card usage to a minimum, or use your credit card like a debit card where you only swipe if you have the money, and if you do have to swipe over where and above what you have to pay back, please make it a priority to pay it back, especially if you have a credit card that's charging something like 20-something%. 20-something% is just crazy. If you really in that much of a bind, go and get a loan. Look at the interest rate, look at the period of payment, all those kind of factors, and determine if you in so much trouble that you really need to spend that kind of money. Consider if you just need to get a loan. Fifth tip, analyze the debt that you have and see which one it would be best to pay back first. If you have debt with higher interest, see if you could pay that back first. If you have multiple debts and you think there's something you can knock off quickly just so you can emotionally have one less person to be paying back, do so. And the last tip, try as much as possible not to be paying back the bare minimum in debt. So I hope that those tips were useful. Drop your comments or spreadsheets or whatever in the comment section so that we can share with each other how we were able to get through. I can say for me, these tips that I have given to you, they're not tips I just give because I read them somewhere or they sound good. These are things I did and they worked for me. So I'm speaking from a place of experience. And I'm not saying it was easy. It's not fun sitting down watching all your friends have a blast and spend a lot of money and you got to tighten your budget. But it did work in the long run for me to get what I wanted. So hopefully it also works for you. Other announcement, I will be doing a video on Thursday at 6:30 with some other colleagues, one being Jeremy Stephen, another being David Simpson, and a new friend, Dwayne Burke. And there will be various topics that are going to be discussed. So I hope everybody will be available to tune in because it's going to be a regular thing unless y'all hate it and I jump ship and abandon Jeremy and David because... but yes, Thursday at 6:30. Can look out for the videos. Can go on the page Crystal's Corner and see all the other videos I would have posted. Thank you to Loop News Barbados for the feature that they would have done. It's very much appreciated. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Monday. I will go back to my painting and thank you, Amaryllis. No, I ain't here to entertain you. You supposed to be working. And you come over here, you in the bed, I can smell you.
Such a lie. Oh my God.
Bye, everybody. I gotta shut off before she can retard.